if I can take a WhatsApp and if I can say that I'm unhappy with Modi and nobody's arrested me on NFIR, then India is democratic. Now, if you're not going to win a seat in 280 to 300 Lok Sabha seats without an alliance partner, who's
Mm,
responsible for it? Congress has really blown
mm,
away that advantage. Pre
mm,
2014, Hindutva or identity politics was prevalent, but not to the extent where it's become so visceral today.
mm.
Now, these are all examples of the Congress not realizing or the leadership not realizing it is good to empower the leaders. And the Congress party has to ask itself, why does it give tickets to people who are actually not ideologically wedded to you?
Hello and welcome to the Federal. You're watching Off the Beaten Track, a program in which we take a fairly holistic look at one of the contemporary issues. Today, we are going to be talking about the Congress Party. It is often referred to as the grand old party, but it is becoming more and more moribund. The old part of the name is not for the experience and the stature, but that it has become so old that it is kind of dropping out of the horizon. Already, the party has been out of power since 2014. If I'm not wrong, this is the longest period that the party has been out of power. Between 96 and 2004 was 8 years when the NDA came in power in 98 and then continued for 6 years. Last year, now basically saying that to talk about the Congress, so I am going to be talking to Sanjay Jha, who was in the Congress. He is an eminent voice of the civil society and the public speakers were there. Somebody who has a professional past, somebody who came into the Congress, is no longer the official spokesperson of the Congress, but as they say, that his heart very much still speaks as a congressman. So we are going to be listening to a voice from within the Congress, but not the formal part of the Congress. Welcome to this program, Sanjay Jha, and it's a real delight to talk to you to try to understand what is happening with what is still India's largest opposition party, the second largest party, the pan Indian footprint. Welcome to this program.
Nilanjan, thank you so much, and I'm
Sanjay
really
Bhai,
grateful. I'm really grateful for the invitation. Thank you
no,
so much.
in fact, I'm thankful that you have agreed to come. And actually, I hope that you are able to speak your heart out. Well, let me start with something very basic. When I called you for this program, and then we decided that let's do this, record this. Last year, after the Lok Sabha election came out, there was a bounce in the steps of the Congress party and the leaders of the Congress.
Right.
In less than a year, it has disappeared. The party has not managed to win Haryana first, Maharashtra, and now Delhi, of course. Delhi, of course, was in any case, they didn't really have a winning chance, but Haryana and Maharashtra along with its allies, and Haryana on its own, the party was expected to do quite well in the assembly elections that followed the Lok Sabha elections. Would you say that the bounce has gone away? And if so, then why? What are the reasons for it?
Well, Nilanjan, there is no denying what you said, that the bounce is off. The entire brio and the positivism that surrounded the Congress's good performance, I mean, it almost touched the three-digit number, was spectacular given the fact that it was not a
Yes.
level playing field. So that cannot be denied, that given the fact that Indian elections haven't been totally fair because the big resources, mainstream media, the capture of the institutions hasn't made it an equal battle. So the Congress's performance need not be seen in just the numbers of 100, because probably if it was a more even playing field, the results could have been even better. Having said that, the Congress has really blown
Mm,
away that advantage. Because, Nilanjan, let's be very honest, that the Congress party correctly talks about the threat to India's democracy, that India's constitutional strengths are being obliterated. There is no denying the legitimacy of these allegations. But the Congress party has to also realize that the only way you can protect the idea of India, India's secularism, its syncretic culture, its democratic foundations, is if you win elections. So you see, there is a fine
mm,
line between an abstract ideological romanticism and the hard nuts and bolts realpolitik of winning elections. If you don't win elections, you're not going to be able to protect the ideology. Let's be honest about this, Nilanjan. Pre
mm,
2014, Hindutva or identity politics was prevalent, but not to the extent where it's become so visceral today.
mm,
And why has it changed? Or the metamorphosis has happened because Mr. Modi is in power and the BJP is aggressively using every platform to touch this debate and kind of escalate it with a lot of rhetoric and hyperbole. I think the biggest disappointment from the Congress's standpoint has been that you're a challenger party, and the challenger party, Nilanjan, has to be extremely aggressive. It has to show greater appetite and hunger. That is conspicuously missing in the Congress party. The people reposed partial confidence in Lok Sabha 2024. The Congress should have doubled down on it to not just win Haryana, but to sweep it. And the same in Maharashtra. In fact, go back to even Jammu and Kashmir, where Omar Abdullah sent out a very
mm,
categorical signal that the Congress party had become complacent. In an interview, he said, even when the campaign was on, he said the Congress party is missing in the Jammu part of the entire campaign in the state. And as we saw, the Congress, as the alliance partner along with the National Conference, failed to deliver. So I do feel that the Congress party has definitely lost that tailwind that it had. But then again, this is Indian politics, but it has to recover its ground very quickly because in politics, with Mr. Modi at the helm, you need to make every day count, or else you will face an existential predicament.
Right, you use the word complacent, when we are talking about Jammu and Kashmir. Many people feel that the same sentiment had overtaken the party in Haryana as well as in Maharashtra. But let me take you on to another question, related to this. That if we argue that instead of being complacent, what had happened was the national leadership was not acting as if the national leadership. It was allowing the state leadership to actually dictate the terms and to set what it would do through the campaign. Very specifically within Haryana, the state unit in Haryana is rampant. There is widespread, factionalism within it. But the elections called for a unified Congress party, but that was not done. Mr. Huda, the former chief minister, kept out several other factions. Most importantly, Kumari Selja, she was kept out. There were many others who felt that they were not adequately used, and the national leadership just watched the state party to be able to do whatever it really wanted to. Something similar was also witnessed in Maharashtra, where the national leadership did not really assert and did not take the kind of decisions which should have been taken.
Well, Nilanjan, let me tell you why this is always going to be a dilemma for the Congress or any other national party. You remember that traditionally the Congress has been accused of being run by a Delhi Darbar, a cabal, or a caucus, which we call as
Mm,
the high command, right? The high command culture, that even a microscopic or a very minute, irrelevant matter at a state level was being addressed by New Delhi. Now, the
mm,
point is that I think there was a very strong case to empower the state leaders and make regional leaders more independent and therefore also more accountable. Now, the
mm.
problem with the Congress is that you got to realize this is not an either or. You need to empower, but you also need to understand that eventually the central command has to play an equal role, or maybe at least have a critical play in what's happening in the state without
Yes.
interfering in very petty matters. The mistake under the current Congress leadership is when it has given that empowerment, it has actually said, hands off, you do what you want, we will just kind of go ahead with it. And let me tell you why your question is very pertinent. Look at Punjab. They took a
Hmm.
back seat. Then there was a war between Navjot Singh Sidhu and Captain Amrinder.
That's right.
And then that
Hmm.
went so absolutely haywire that then center intervened as a troubleshooter at the last minute. And the Congress gave away on a silver platter, it gave the state to the Aam Aadmi Party.
Aadmi
Take it,
Party.
take Rajasthan, take Rajasthan. Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot, they did not intervene at all. And anybody who's lived in Rajasthan and who's aware of the politics will tell you that had Sachin been made the chief minister even 9 months earlier or even 6 months earlier, who knows what the result could have been in Rajasthan, because it actually became a very close contest. Now these are all examples of the Congress not realizing, or the leadership not realizing, it is good to empower the leaders, but that doesn't mean that you give them so much of unilateral freedom that they are running their own private fiefdom. And that is the mistake the Congress party made. Mr. Huda, who's by the way a very veteran leader, a very successful leader, had to get in Kumari Selja, had to get in a Randeep Singh Surjewala and create a real rainbow party, because the strength of the Congress is its ability to reach across to different sections of the voters. And the Congress eroded that. Take another example, Nilanjan, even Madhya Pradesh. You'll remember
Hmm.
Mr. Kamalnath, who I think is a friend of mine, and I hope he won't get upset about this. Mr. Kamalnath is a veteran, right? Everyone thought
Yes.
that the Congress was going to sweep Madhya Pradesh. In fact, I remember Rahul Gandhi in a press conference saying that we are assured of victory in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. Rajasthan, we are not
Hmm.
so sure. Why were you so assured of
Yes.
it? Because you just completely abandoned your own intelligence or engagement in the Madhya Pradesh campaign. You left it to Mr. Kamalnath and to Mr. Baghel, and you had egg on your face, literally. So if you look at 6 states recently, including Maharashtra, the Congress has actually given the BJP 6 states, which, in my
Hmm.
opinion, could have changed the narrative of Indian politics, and we would be having an entirely different conversation today. The short answer is, in politics, you got to intervene without interfering, and you got to have a command without being a controlling party. It's a fine line. It's not either or.
Right. Uh, actually not completely giving power to the state government, state party unit to decide what it wants to do. Let me take the case of another state, though not a full state, but Delhi, which may not have the government, may not have much power, but it is symbolically very important because it is also India's capital city.
Yeah.
For the last three elections, the Congress has not done well in Delhi. Of these, the last two elections in 2020 and in 2015, it had a very honorable score of zero. And that's it, a vote share which has been declining with every elections. This time on the 8th of February, the day when the results were declared, I was on a couple of discussion panels, on channels and YouTube
Right.
platforms.
Right.
Those people who were representing the Congress were gleeful. They were so happy and delighted with the results. During a break, I asked them that, are you so delighted because you have got zero, because your vote share has increased by about 2% maybe, and that you have been able to save the deposit of three of your candidates out of 70. 67 constituencies, security deposit forfeited. They were so happy because the Aam Aadmi Party had lost. Two questions arise out of this. One is the necessity for having strategic alliances, which was abandoned both in Haryana and in Delhi. Results could have been different. Kejriwal himself may not have lost because Sandeep Dikshit, also a very good friend of mine, he contested and polled more votes than the margin by which Kejriwal lost. Something similar happened to Manish Sisodia, and almost something happened to Atishi. It's a different thing that eventually she was able to win the seat. This brings us to the question that what do we do with this, or rather the how Congress, how should it approach being part of the India platform? There is a very uneasy relationship going on within the India platform. First of all, this entire issue of the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. how do you look at it, and what should be the way forward? Because we have Punjab coming up within the next couple of years.
Yeah, and you have Bihar coming up shortly, and you got a
Yes,
number
Bihar
of
is
state
coming up,
elections
but
next year.
Aam
Yeah,
Aadmi Party is fortunately not there. I said that let us delink the India alliance in the Congress from the separately from the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress dilemma, because both in Haryana and in Delhi, uh, the alliance would have possibly changed the nature of the verdict.
in Nilanjan, I personally feel I will respectfully disagree with you on the assumption that the Aam Aadmi Party Congress alliance, had it been effective in both Haryana and Delhi, the results would have been different. Probably it would have resulted in a few more seats here and there, but I don't think it would have fundamentally altered the final outcome, because end of day, I think vote transfers are not very directly linear. My basic point is that end of day, if you look at the India alliance in Delhi, the Congress, a lot of people in the Congress, why they were smiling who were sitting next to you, the Congress believes that the Aam Aadmi Party structurally and in a great number of ways fundamentally, if not fatally, destroyed the UPA with the India Against Corruption campaign along with Anna Hazare, which a lot of people feel was eventually having an RSS or a BJP support. I do believe there's a lot of currency in that argument. So there is a
Hmm.
lot of inner hostility from a lot of people, especially those who contest elections from Delhi, because Delhi was the turning point. Delhi was where
That's
Anna Hazare and Arvind Kejriwal made political capital out of the debris of the Congress party. So there is what I call as a latent distrust that is very much volcanic in terms of its capability to erupt.
right.
Now, I do feel that the Congress as a whole, and this is the role of the Congress leadership, should have looked at it a little differently. Times have changed. You can't sit on a hostility to Aam Aadmi Party simply because now they have
Hmm.
become a national party and they defeated you in both Delhi and Punjab. Aam Aadmi Party is a new political reality of Indian politics. Now,
Hmm.
they have happened because the Congress party was weak, it fumbled, it allowed what I call as the startup to become a successful experiment. You cannot sit and crib about it. You have to now reconcile to how do you either work with it or how do you oppose it and defeat it politically. It To me, the Congress's main attention should be as to how do I stop the BJP juggernaut,
Hmm.
because the
That's right.
truth be said, that end of day it's a BJP that you fight against across the country. Mr. Modi attacks Mr. Rahul Gandhi and the family of the Gandhis and the Congress and Mr. Nehru, etc., in his speeches, because the Congress is the pan India national opposition to the BJP. In weakening itself at the core, the Congress has allowed the BJP a free pass. Let me tell you one thing, Nilanjan. If you look at the hard data, the Congress hasn't won an absolute majority of its own since 1984. It
That's right.
hasn't. Yeah, it maximum won a 220 odd during PV Narasimha Rao in 1991, largely on account of the sympathy wave following Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, and then 206 seats in 2009 when Dr. Manmohan
And
Singh had a good run in UPA 1. And you look at the number of states where the Congress has vanished for decades. Odisha since 2000, you
yes.
have Gujarat since 1985, you have Bihar since 1990, you have Uttar Pradesh since 1989, you have Tamil Nadu since 1967, you have West Bengal since 1972. Now you add Andhra Pradesh, now you add Delhi, then you add even Maharashtra, and you will come to this extremely staggering and very disturbing number that in roughly, if you add the Lok Sabha seats in the states, the Congress has made itself marginal in roughly 300 seats or 280 seats. Now, if you're not going to win a seat in 280 to 300 Lok Sabha seats without an alliance partner, who's
Hmm.
responsible for it? You are. And therefore, my question that if you look at Delhi, Nilanjan, Delhi is a
Hmm.
message to the Congress party. This is a state that you won three times in a row. I
That's
mean,
right.
if you look at the Delhi story, Sheila Dikshit created out of this whole, large, lazy, sprawling urban village, she made it into the most happening
Into a
metropolis.
livable city.
Absolutely. So here is my point. If the Congress thereafter gets three zeros, and that too in Delhi, where the entire Congress leadership sits, it tells you that you have a problem. And that problem is probably one, its inability to kind of galvanize its workers by inspiring them into believing we are coming back, we should win. Is leadership still stuck in a rut, not able to kind of work on day one, and just getting itself into action a few months before an election is not going to create anything dramatic. And I think fundamentally the Congress has kind of become a party when it loses, it is not able to get the momentum back to win. A BJP loses, it comes back in the next cycle. The Congress loses, it begins to vanish. And even in Uttarakhand is another state where you found the Congress had the remarkable experience of a swing state going the BJP way. Don't forget, even Kerala, the LDF won, and the Congress could not take the advantage of the swing factor.
Yes.
Now, these are all writing on the wall. And I've been with the Congress, and I can tell you the Congress leadership lacks the ability to work the numbers. They are not able to work on day one in terms of stitching. What do we need to win constituency by constituency? I can tell you the BJP is just a playbook machine. What the BJP does, Nilanjan, it has a template. This is the things we're going
Right.
to do during an election. It's like how you produce a car, or how do you basically write a press release, right? There's a certain format and you follow that, and it works. If you follow it, it will get the results it needs to. And then of course you customize or you make it more tailored to a particular contest. The Congress doesn't even follow a rigorous, what I call as a very time tested machine or a formula to win an election. It's as simple as that. And I think the principal reason is that the party doesn't understand that if you don't enter a contest to just fight an election, you enter a contest to win an election.
With
I heard Rahul Gandhi recently in Gujarat say there are too many people from the BJP who are in the Congress working for the BJP, and they should be removed from the Congress. My rejoinder to that, to the Congress leadership and to Rahul, will be then why, for example, do you have a Nana Patole who headed Maharashtra, who was an ex BJP guy? As
right.
simple as that. And the Congress party has to ask itself, why does it give tickets to people who are actually not ideologically wedded to you, but who are probably contractors and all kinds of people
No,
who are just buying tickets by cash and becoming your candidate? That's the problem with the Congress.
maybe also become a bit more blunt and say that we have taken action against these so many people, and then say because they were working for the BJP while being in the Congress. What
Yeah,
is the point of continuing with those people within the Congress despite making these wild allegations without identifying anyone that there are many who are working for the BJP? Then what are you doing? What
yeah,
kind of a leader are you that you are actually nurturing, to use a phrase, from our the typical Indian snakes in their sleeves. Why
yeah,
why do you have them? So what's
yeah,
the big point of?
yeah,
Now, Sanjay, let me ask you about a very important question about Rahul Gandhi.
yeah,
Rahul Gandhi, of course, 2014 onward, we saw him being disparaged continuously by the BJP, calling him Pappu, all kinds of names. When the Bharat Jodo Yatra was announced, and when he commenced from deep down south, at that time there was a tremendous amount of skepticism that would he be able to. That was the first question, that would he actually complete this journey? But he not only did that, but through that entire journey, it seemed that he grew politically. He began to understand, he began to relate to a large part of India, and reached Srinagar. And by the time, it was considered to be that he has been able to, you know, come out with a new incarnation, been able to. So he was suddenly a new, uh, new
avatar.
leader.
Yeah,
The BJP suddenly was finding that its previous line of attack on Rahul Gandhi was no longer being accepted by the people.
yeah,
Last year, 2024, just as the campaign was beginning to heat up, started the second yatra. I do not really know whether it had the same similar kind of effect or not. But after that, has there been any growth? You said, this abstract romanticism. I find, I read that next month when they have the AICC session in Gujarat, they are going to start out another yatra to save the constitution.
Mhm.
However serious the problem may be, that yes, the constitution is being dismantled block by block without it being changed, so that the constitution remains the same, but it becomes a completely overall a new constitution without it actually being changed. Something like, very much like the Greek mythological tale of the ship of Theseus, where the
Right.
philosophical question arises: is this the same ship? Because every part has been changed. Maybe not every part, but now after CAA, religion is very much a part which defines Indian citizenship, which is not part of what the our founding fathers had ever thought. Likewise, one can actually talk about at various points where the constitution is actually under threat. But to be able to explain it to people, would it not be better to do something besides just taking out a yatra and repeating the same things what you are saying again and again? A new vocabulary, a new way to approach people, and actually say why the constitution being dismantled or whatever being done, tampered with, how does it make difference to the lives of people?
Yeah. In Nilanjan, let me tell you that Rahul Gandhi and the Congress have to ask themselves, how could you commit the harakiri or go in a kamikaze mission where Rahul Gandhi's brand, which reached, I think, a real high after both the Bharat Joro Yatras, they call it the Bharat Nyay Yatra, etc. It's remarkable. I know how many leaders would walk the length and breadth of the country like Rahul Gandhi did. It's an extraordinary accomplishment. And I think he did it genuinely, which is even more remarkable. Now, I think the tragedy of the Congress, and Rahul has to personally kind of take the big responsibility for it. When you get momentum, you got to seize it with both hands. What the
Right.
Congress has done is it has allowed that to dissipate. I'll give you one example, Nilanjan. When Rahul Gandhi finished both his yatras, across the country there was a curiosity in India to see him, to touch him, to
Mm.
feel him, to hear him talk, because they said, here is what a guy. I mean, people can't walk 5 kilometers without getting a footing. And here was a man who walked the country, and he did it bravely, in harsh conditions, and, despite all the opposition. Instead, Rahul Gandhi went abroad, and I think the Congress just lost that opportunity to take him
Intensity.
across the country. Exactly. I would have taken him through a complete inner visit to all the parts of India that were not included in the Bharat Jodo Yatra for various practical reasons. That is what the story should have been. Secondly, here is the point. He's a good man, and nobody's denying that Rahul Gandhi is a good man.
Right.
Nobody's going to deny that he's got the right intentions. Absolutely true that he genuinely believes that India needs to be, secular and progressive and a liberal country. But here is the other problem. If what you're saying is true, that they want to do a yatra on constitution, I'll tell you where the problem lies. You ask the common man in this country, what are your problems? And he will tell you, my problem is corruption, my issues are unemployment. I'm worried about my food and my inflation. Uh, what bothers me is the environment, and the whole issue of what I would call is the day-to-day crisis that they go through. Every dynamic that affects them. Now, the problem with when you talk of constitution and democracy is that has to pivot on this fundamental problem of the common man. You can't make the problems of the common man pivot on this constitution and democracy argument, because it's very unfortunate, Nilanjan, but to the average citizen of this country, they do not have the time to understand this whole debate on democracy and constitution.
Right.
Because for them, if I can take a WhatsApp, and if I can say that I'm unhappy with Modi and nobody's arrested me on NFIR, then India is democratic. That's it.
Right.
They don't
That's
understand. They don't understand the death of institutions argument. I'm not, with due respects to them, they don't have the time to comprehend as to what is really, very
what's
critically
wrong
going
with the
wrong.
electoral process. for instance.
Exactly. The whole issue of, say, the caste census. If you ask me, in Mumbai, where I live, a lot of the elite crowd in Mumbai will say, "What rubbish are you talking about the caste census?" And none of them will actually be aware that almost 85% of India got issues
Hmm.
of economic and social disempowerment, right? So you have to
Right.
know that end of day, you have to, in India, it's not an either or story. You got to talk
Hmm.
constitution, you got to talk democracy, but you got to talk about issues that matter. And what matters to people on a day-to-day basis as common people. My worry is that the Congress party is going to sound like a very airy fairy party, talking a language which is very, 300 and kind of 36,000 feet above sea level. And just like how the Democrats floundered against Donald Trump in America,
Yes.
they got stuck on transgender rights, abortion rights for women. And when the larger issues of joblessness, of the fact that how much was America spending on arms, everything got forgotten, and a very rhetorical "make America great again" made Donald Trump win.
That's right. You talk about airy fairy issues, nicely put. The fact is that while what Rahul Gandhi has been doing, I'm not belittling it, I'm saying that it is very important. But there is another very important task which the Congress has to do. Every Congress leader that you speak to personally will accept yes, but then collectively they do not be seen to be doing it. That is rebuilding the organizational network. Where is the Congress in the in the sub districts, in the districts, in the subdivisional parts of the district? Where is it there? It is not there in gram panchayats. You don't have people. You can, in contrast, you can go anywhere in this country, especially in the area of strength. You will find at least either one BJP person, Karyakarta, or somebody from the RSS always present there. But where is
Yeah.
the Congress? We have in our early decades in journalism, wherever we have gone, whichever village, whichever town, whichever city, you could always walk into and look at the signboard of the Congress party office and walk in, and then you would find a host of people there, fairly large number of people,
Yeah.
just completely absent and vacated. What
Yeah.
is the party doing, and how can it go about rebuilding the organization?
Well, Nilanjan, just to kind of take off from where we ended the last question, when I said that the Congress party does not have to get carried away by things that look to the common man to be very intellectually mobilized but not affecting them on a daily basis, it does not mean that democracy and constitution are not serious issues. They are. They know about this whole washing machine, the ED, CBI, income tax issues are real. Election Commission is corrupted. Nobody can deny that. But you cannot be just talking one language, which brings me back to what you said. Why is the Congress party missing the last mile story? You'll hear from many people that our ability to take the voter to the booth is the weakest link on the entire chain to win electoral votes. The simple reason is that the Congress has really taken its eyes off an organizational overhaul. I'll give you an example. This is a recommendation, and you asked me what is the way forward. If you look at recently in Gujarat, Rahul Gandhi went and he had a meeting with people there. And
Yes.
suddenly they have passed a declaration that in 1 week we'll appoint people all over the country in the block level, the district level, and the state level. Somebody will ask a question. You haven't done that for decades. And now you're going to do it in 1 week? It just doesn't make any
Yes.
sense.
Big
In the
expense.
sense that you'll end up making the wrong selection because people will, in a hurry, just fill positions to fulfill an official diktat. That's not the way it works. Jaishankar makes a statement, for example, Tharur, what is your viewpoint? If Nirmala Sitaraman says this on any foreign policy issue or on taxation, for example, or on FDI, Mr. Chidambaram gives an answer to that.
But, but
Supposing,
but let me ask you an uncomfortable question. To be able
sure,
to give that much amount of independence to people you yourself have chosen, does it not mean that the leadership has to be more secure about its position? And for
yeah.
that, they have to actually position themselves on a far more firmer footing?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, Nilanjan, I come from a school that has taught me that a good leader creates new leaders without any fear of threat or insecurity. I believe that Rahul Gandhi has to take this call. Do you want to be
Right.
part of a winning team, even if you're not the captain? Take a lesson from Virat Kohli. He gave up captaincy, but he's part of a winning team.
Yes.
Or would you like to be captain of a team that is actually losing? What's the privilege of coming and giving a speech of concession to somebody else who won? So I think it's a question of taking that call. It's you are better off with a winning team where you're part of that team. And I want to make this point, before I think we end your show for sure. Nilanjan, the Congress has this year to fix itself, because next year onwards they'll run again into this whole election cycle,
Yes.
right? Use this year to build your party, get a clarity on how we're going to handle issues, how we're going to attack the BJP, the ideological clarity, etc., and recognize that give up the chairmanship of the India Alliance. And I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Focus on your internal renewal. The Congress should know it will always be the biggest party in the India Alliance if it delivers to potential, right?
It
So
has the biggest footprint.
it has the biggest footprint. So, if today, for example, the India Alliance leadership is given to, say, Mamata Banerjee, or to Akhilesh Yadav, or to MK Stalin, I mean, they run states. Basically, they
Yes.
are now they will also have the hunger and the time and the resource to be able to work with the other parties and create that leadership. And the more voices you create, the more energy you create, the more diversity
That's
you have
right.
in leadership, the more traction you'll get as an India Alliance. See, I'll give you one example.
Yes.
Congress party has not been able to lead the India Alliance because it's struggling with its own problems. That's the simple story. So I
Exactly.
would I would request through your channel, Nilanjan, the Congress party voluntarily says, you know what? Let's make the chairman's post on a rotational basis. 2 years max. Everyone gets a chance to lead, and let the best people prove themselves. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Very well said. Decentralize the party. Leader of opposition should act like a shadow prime minister and then give up the chairmanship of the India alliance.
Yep.
Now, the reason why we actually would want a Congress party to be stronger and be more effective, a bigger challenger to the BJP, is not because we are supporters of this Congress of the Congress party, but because we feel that in a healthy democracy, there must be systemic checks and balances, which wasn't there for the last 10 years, which was there for the first few months of Modi 3, or rather, let me put it this way, NDA 1.0, because it was actually Modi 1.0 and Modi 2.0. Now, it could have been the NDA 1.0, but unfortunately may end up becoming Modi 3.0, and only the Congress can prevent this by actually becoming stronger and be a more effective opposition party. Thank you very much, Sanjay Jha, for
Thank you.
joining and sparing time and really engaging in a very proper, specific what has to be done plan for the Congress party. I hope somebody from the party heard you speak and then maybe implement all that. When they do, if they do, we will be again together on this platform and then see what has to be done next. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Nilanjan. Thank you.